Hi, this is Jessica DeMassa, and I'm in the GuideWell Insights Lounge here at Singularity University's Exponential Medicine 2017. Joining me in the lounge right now, I have two guests, both from Click Health. We have Jan Fossat, who is the principal investigator for Click Labs, and we also have Alec Melkonian, who is the entrepreneur in residence at Click. So welcome, guys. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to give you an opportunity, Jan. We'll start with you. Can you introduce Click to everybody? Talk about what it is and what exactly you're investigating in the labs.
So Click is a commercialization entity, and the lab itself is the innovation group. So we do research, basically, that is very much like pure research, not applied, but in a commercial context.
Okay.
So my job is to come up with things, and Alec's job is to
turn them into how to make money, yeah?
Correct. That is
okay, great. The interplay is clear now between the two. So tell me what are you researching then? What are you guys looking into right now?
So all our research is centered around the future of digital medicine. How technology and medicine can be merged to benefit patients, speed up things, make things more effective, more efficient in all ways. Mm-hmm. So in this specific instance, we were presenting a device that we created that increase empathy for patients.
Okay.
And this is for improving quality of care, ultimately.
Okay, fantastic. And I know you put it in a beautiful phrase, tele-empathy, I think is what you had said earlier, right? So explain that concept to me. What does that mean exactly?
So it started with the realization that when physicians become patients, when a physician has a disease, suddenly, like an oncologist gets cancer, they have this realization that this is not quite what they thought it would be. Being a patient is not the same as listening to a patient. And this realization comes over and over. Every physician who becomes a patient realizes that same concept, which means it's not something you can educate people on. You have to feel it for yourselves.
Okay.
So we try to create something using technology to help you feel that, as opposed to wait until you get sick. Hopefully you don't. We want to make you feel what it's like to be sick, truly feel it, so that your sense of empathy will be heightened. Okay,
and the market need for this is?
It's interesting. So doctors and physicians, all of us with scientific backgrounds, tend to intellectualize things, and they often liken sympathy to empathy, and that they come from the same place, but they're really, really different things.
What's the difference?
Sympathy is something that you feel for someone else. Empathy is a result of feeling exactly what they feel. And different centers of the brain actually fire up as a result. By feeling sympathy, it actually creates a distance between you and I because we're different. By feeling empathy, we're in the same place.
Right.
And it opens up all kinds of great possibilities in terms of improving how a physician cares for their patients and seeing different ways of taking care of them.
And tying it to better outcomes and all
absolutely shorter timelines, area under the curve type stuff.
Now, tell me a little bit about this, about what you've done then in this tele-empathy space. I want to hear specifically, tell me the story of basically what we talked about earlier about what you've developed. What is it? Is it an app? What is it?
So it's a medical device. And what it does is it consists of two parts. We digitize the muscle activity of a patient who has Parkinson's disease.
Okay, so it's tele-empathy for Parkinson's.
Yes.
Okay.
That's its first application.
The first experiment was using Parkinson, but the concept can be applied to any symptom that has digitizable component. So for Parkinson, we digitize the muscle activity because the muscles are what makes the hand tremor.
Right.
And then the brain makes the muscle, but we went up one level to the muscle.
Okay.
And then we play back electrical muscle stimulation on the caregiver to make their muscles move just like the patient.
Oh, wow.
And by doing this, we transmit tremors, either in real time or in pre-recorded mode.
Okay. And what kind of feedback have you gotten from this?
It's transformative for the person who experiences
really?
it.
Okay.
They said they've always empathize, or they say the words they've empathized, but then you actually see people break down because for the first time, interestingly, we found two twin brothers in our hometown, and they had grown up together. They had grown up very healthy and physical and athletic, but then one contracted Parkinson's, and the other always felt for his brother, but could never feel what he was feeling.
Which is so strange. It's got to be so weird as twins.
Twins, and they say there's that special connection, right? So we in fact showed it to the audience here, and it elicited the same response. He broke down. His wife broke down the very first time they felt this, and they no longer question why it took him so long. Secretly, behind their in the corner of their mind, they really understood what he was going through.
So I want to talk about the business behind this, I guess. And you had said you snuck it in there, leave it to the entrepreneur in residence. You're like, that's the first application.
Yes.
So this is the first application. So what's the future of this look like? What else can it be applied to?
So we look for a couple of markers in terms of where we could apply to. One is large populations, right? So we want to impact positively the biggest kind of therapeutic areas we can. Others are this notion of a high empathy deficit. So people that don't feel empathy or sympathy for patients. So we're looking at COPD, it's basically the smoker's disease. You're looking at diabetes where people are like, you kind of did it yourself through lifestyle decisions.
Okay.
IBD and GI issues, people who have never suffered from it don't
Sure.
realize that it's debilitating. And then the biggest one that we really are working on a proof of concept early stage right now is around depression. It impacts millions, and people can't relate.
Okay, so how do you do that? Because that's not as easy as like I'm going to
Right.
control the muscles and the spasms in your arm. So how do you apply this technology to that? Talk to me about
So
it.
it's very disease specific. So for IBD, for example, we're going to use respiration control. So
Okay.
we have a device that measures on the patient the airflow,
Okay.
speed, velocity, quantity,
Sure.
and then we replicate that on a non-patient. So if you take a breath, you can only take the same breath as the patient.
Okay.
And you realize that's not a lot of air.
Right. Now, talk to me about the
Yeah.
depression in particular. I'm
Right.
very interested in that.
So for depression, this is by far the most complex, but it's
Yeah.
also the most amazing because we've all encountered depressed people and they're like, come on, just like,
Cheer
it's
up.
nice, it's
Yeah,
funny.
exactly.
So right now we're investigating transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is
Okay.
used for treating depression. We potentially, this is potentially,
Okay.
could use
Leave
it
it to the researcher.
to induce depression. So it's mostly it's a device you wear on your head that has strong electromagnetic fields, so it sends magnet fields, and it creates a disruption in part of the brain that usually either up-regulate or down-regulate that part of the brain. And it's used for depressed patients by doing something, so we're investigating doing it in reverse.
Now,
There-
are
There's
you
also
expecting?
virtual reality applications to create depression. So we're investigating a variety of technologies.
That's fantastic. And I was just going to say, like, so I guess from the entrepreneurial side of this, as you're marketing this, are you seeing a lot of interest from, I guess, in a B2B application where it's like pharmaceutical companies are like, yes, we want to
Yeah.
see what this is like so that we can, help kind of fine tune what we're developing, or,
Right.
Anybody else who's looking for a
There's
way
some
to help.
interesting vectors. Not so much early on in the development
Yeah.
and innovation part of it, but more in terms of when they move into commercialization. So if I'm going to inject a therapy into an already well-established treatment algorithm,
Yeah.
I'm looking to disrupt it. So by having a physician go through this experience, they're going to have a more open mindset and maybe adopt a therapy that they hadn't considered in the past, maybe do research a little bit more aggressively. And then from a development perspective, we're actually getting a lot of outreach from the associations saying like it's in our interest that our constituents have their physicians feel what they feel earlier on.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and then interesting of all groups, payers. They're very interested in having a therapy that can impact the overall cost of well-being and sort of shrink that area under the curve, if you will, by having a therapy adopted earlier on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's so interesting to hear about, especially the interplay between this research and then commercialization ventures that you guys have going on here at Click. Thank
Well,
you so
there's
much.
a sitcom coming up between
Oh,
the two
is
of us.
there?
There it
That's
is.
fantastic. We look forward to watching that. You two seem like a great pair.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
so
us.
much for joining us here
Okay.
at the GuideWell Insights Lounge. And if anybody wants to learn any more about this, company is Click Health, and they can find you at clickhealth.com.
Yep.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm Jessica DeMassa here at the GuideWell Insights Lounge at Exponential Medicine 2017. Thanks so much.